Welcome to this machine tool video on the Haas CNC Vertical Machining Center. A CNC Vertical Machining Center is a very versatile shop machine. It can mill parts to thickness, mill profiles of parts, drill holes, tap holes, and perform many other operations. In this video, you'll explore how the Haas CNC Vertical Machining Center functions and how to manually operate the machine. We'll start with an overview of the control buttons. To power up the Haas Machining Center, flip the main power switch to the on position. It's on the back of the machine. Next, turn on the air supply, which is also on the back of the machine. Then power up the control by pressing the Power On button on the control panel. Please note that it takes a few minutes to start up. Once the control panel has finished the startup phase, the control screen will display the Haas startup screen. This screen tells you exactly what to do. Once you've completed the listed procedures, you'll see a green check in front of each task. Let's review these. The first task is to cycle the door by opening and closing it. Next, release the emergency stop by rotating it clockwise. Now, close the doors and press the Power Up button, which is found to the right of the Reset button. Once all of this has been done, the machine's axis will move and you'll see a tool change. With green check marks in front of all of the tasks, the machine is now ready to operate. Now, press Cycle Start to run a program or Hand Jog for manual operation. Make sure you always press the Hand Jog button for manual operation. If you press Cycle Start instead, the machine will run the last program, which could cause it to crash. Now, let's review how to use the hand wheel. Press the Handle Jog button. To move the axes using the hand wheel, first select the increment. You have four choices: 0.0001, 1/10 of a thousandth, 0.001, 1,000th, 0.010, 10,000th, 0.100, 100,000th. For this video, we selected the 10,000th increment. Now, select the axis you'd like to move using the axis selection buttons. To select the x-axis, which moves the table left and right, press the minus x or plus x button. Rotating the hand wheel counterclockwise moves the table to the right, which is x negative, and moving it clockwise moves the table to the left, which is x positive. To move the y-axis, which moves the table toward or away from the operator, press the plus Y button or the minus Y button. Rotating the hand wheel counterclockwise moves the table away from the operator, which is Y negative, and moving it clockwise moves the table toward the operator, which is Y positive. To move the Z-axis, which moves the spindle up or down, press either the minus Z button or the plus Z button. Rotating the hand wheel counterclockwise moves the spindle down, which is Z negative, and rotating it clockwise moves the spindle up, which is Z positive. When in handle mode, pressing and holding any of the axis buttons, the axis will move at a feed rate. Each button is labeled for the axis and direction that it controls. Once the axes have been moved from the home position, they can be moved back to home using the zero return mode by pressing the zero return button. Pressing the All button homes all of the axes at once. The Z-axis homes first, then the X and Y axes home. Also, in the zero return mode, a single axis can be homed. To home just the Z-axis, press Z on the keyboard, and then press the single button. The Z-axis will now move up to the home position. The same applies to the X and Y axes. Pressing the home G28 button returns all axes to home at a rapid rate, which means the axes move faster than the other selection. Now let's review how to change a tool in the Haas CNC vertical milling machine. Every tool holder has one side with a dimple and one side without. The orientation of the dimple doesn't matter when loading tools into the Haas machine. Always make sure the tool has the correct retention knob for the Haas because it uses a longer one than other machines. All Haas tools are loaded through the spindle. Unlike other machines, you can't access the tool carousel to manually load the tools into the carousel. To change a tool, start by putting the machine in MDI mode by pressing the MDI button. A tool change can be done in a few different ways in MDI mode. The first is to press T, followed by the desired tool number on the keyboard, and then pressing the ATC forward button. This triggers the machine to start the tool change process for the entered tool number. You can also perform a tool change by typing in a line of code. Type T and the desired tool number on the keyboard, and then press M6 for the tool change command. The code typed appears in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Next, press Enter to insert the code into the MDI program. The code should now appear in the program area. Finish this process by pressing the Cycle Start button. A tool change can also be performed manually. Start by opening the doors. Then, hold on to the tool and press the Tool Release button. This releases the tool so you can remove it from the spindle. To manually insert a new tool, first ensure the taper and spindle are free of chips and dirt. Hold the tool up into the spindle and press the Tool Release button. Make sure the drive dogs line up on the tool. Then, release the Tool Release button. The machine will now clamp onto the tool. Now, let's move on to the spindle. To turn the spindle on in the MDI mode, start by shutting the doors. Make sure the machine is in MDI mode by pressing the MDI button. Delete any remaining code in the MDI program by highlighting the code using the arrow button on the keyboard and then pressing Delete. To turn the spindle on, enter an RPM value and an M code. To run the spindle at 1000 RPM in the clockwise direction, type S1000 for the spindle speed and M3 to turn the spindle clockwise. Press Enter to insert the code into the MDI program. Next, press the Cycle Start button to start the spindle. To stop the spindle using the MDI mode, delete the code from the MDI program. Type M5 using the keyboard and press Enter. Press the Cycle Start button and the spindle will stop. Once the spindle speed has been entered into the machine, the spindle can be turned on and off in handle jog mode. Start by pressing the Handle Jog button. Use the forward, stop, and reverse buttons on the control. Forward turns the spindle clockwise, and reverse turns it counterclockwise. Next, press the forward button to turn the spindle on. Once the spindle is on, you can override it using the negative and positive % buttons. Positive % increases the spindle speed and negative decreases it. The spindle speed is always visible on the lower left side of the screen. If the overrides have been used, you can bring the spindle speed back to 100% by pressing the 100% spindle button. To stop the spindle in handle jog mode, simply press the Stop button. To shut down the control, first empty the spindle or have no tool in the spindle by tool changing to a known empty tool. Enter MDI mode. Type T and the empty tool number and press ATC forward. Now that the spindle is empty, the next step is to home the machine. Press the 0 return to move into 0 return mode, and then press the Home G28 button. Once the machine is home, open the doors and press the emergency stop. Next, press the Power Off button on the control. Once the screen completely shuts off, turn off the main power and air supply on the back of the machine. In this video, we explored the Haas CNC Vertical Machining Center, including how it functions and how to manually operate the machine. You've finished the Haas CNC Vertical Machining Center.